Welcome to the Standing Stone podcast. We are back for another episode, and I have some very fun people joining me today. We have Jessica, and everybody knows as Just Charles over there. Today's episode will be another one like the one we did just here a couple weeks ago about testing results. We have an extra trainer with because we had an extra handler, and we will be combining in this episode specifically NAVHDA test results as well as AKC hunt test results. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to all of the sponsors of this podcast. The biggest sponsor of everything Standing Stone is patrons. If you'd like to become a patron, you can join us at patreon.com/Standing Stone Kennels, where you can get assistance, basically interacting with me directly to help you train your dog at home. While getting that support, you're also supporting these videos that we put out and podcasts and everything else. Also, a longtime sponsor and a great company to support DT Systems. We feed and are proud to feed Eukanuba Premium Performance Dog Food. And last but not least, if you want to make sure the game you're shooting at is dead, harvested. Kent Ammunition, been shooting again for a very long time and proud that they do support what we do. So we're going to go ahead and jump into this. We will mix match a little bit, but ultimately I want to hear a brief overview of AKC tests, which would have been from today, a week and a day ago, and then the NAVHDA test results. So we'll go big picture on how the dogs that you ran did, and then we'll kind of break down some of the, not all of it, but some of the nitty gritty on what went right and what went wrong, and again, how we can move from here to better them. We got a lot of good feedback from the first one. A lot of people reached out and said, wow, that was really interesting to actually hear how the dogs did and how you make a plan moving forward to be able to fix or continuing on, things like that. So let's go ahead and start with the hunt test, Charles.
So ran Doc, East, Hazel, Shock, and Splash.
That's a big weekend.
It's a big weekend. I think we did the math and I did 38 miles on the weekend.
In 2 days.
Yeah. And they definitely running that many dogs on Easter Sunday. They had a junior dog.
Okay.
So I basically was in every field at the same time all day. So I would come out of the field.
They only had a junior dog?
Yeah.
So it was all master and senior?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not normal.
Not at all. And normally the junior gives you a nice buffer on a double so that you can, your master starts here and then you kind of end here and it works out pretty well. But in this case, I would walk out of the field with the dog and they would say East top. And I would go over, get East, put his orange collar on. I'd go out, I'd run that brace and I'd come back in and they'd say Hazel bottom. And I'd grab Hazel and put the yellow collar on and then they'd come back in.
Cast off from the same area for the double?
The parking lot was very centrally located, but it was a, I don't know, 400-yard walk between, from the central location of the truck. So
typically folks at a double hunt test, if you haven't been there, what he was talking about with the order of operations, they would be running 3 different levels, junior, senior, and master. Typically they start one side and they'll run the order of master, senior, junior, and then they run the other side of junior, master, senior, or however it works out based on numbers, but they mix them in. And usually tests are predominantly puppies. So you do get anywhere from 6 to 10 sometimes braces. I don't know the exact numbers, but when you've got that many at 20-ish minutes plus turnaround a piece, you're going on approximately 30 minutes times 10 braces, which gives you a little bit of a buffer, a few hours anyhow. And when you have all seniors and masters and you're running most of those dogs, it is a lot to organize. So,
yep. So the test went pretty well on Saturday. East got a pass, Doc got a pass, Hazel got a pass, and Splash got a pass. So everybody but Shock went 50-50, which East had his first actual issue in a test that he had to be handled through, and it wasn't that big of a deal, but he had not really needed handled yet. And so it was my moment with him to say, this may be okay. I don't think it is, but I'm not going to let you get away with it. Because he's been so steady that I didn't want that to backslide. I failed Doc 110%. Doc was running great, and I had arguably one of the worst handling mistakes I've ever done. Just distraction and thinking about a million things and not paying enough attention to the bird. So long story short is I flushed a bird. It was not performing. It was going to be a safety. I had assumed the bird was going to fly straight. As I went to shoot my blank pistol, as you have to do on a safety, I looked at the dog, didn't watch the bird, and the bird button hooked and kind of landed back a lot closer to us than I thought. And then when we heel away from situations, we heel into the dog, and we'll usually do a complete circle, or even if I even want to go 90 degrees to my left, I'll do a complete circle plus to kind of break the concentration of them on that bird. And so I did my circle, but when I heeled him away, not knowing that bird had button hooked, I basically heeled him to the bird and let him go. And then he took a couple steps, and he didn't forget at all. Took a couple steps and reflushed it.
Hey, idiot. Thanks.
How far into your day was that? Like, you called it a handler mistake. Like, were you fatigued? You've been now booking it back and forth, or was it pretty early in the day? It
was still pretty early in that one. I mean, basically I got like a 20-minute break pretty quick in the morning. And then from then on, I was back to back to back. So, I mean, I think Doc that day ran an hour straight. Like, we literally walked out of the field and just took him straight over to the next field.
Back to backs are tough. Even dogs that are ready for it, they are.
Yeah. And
they're tough.
In general, had it been Shock or somebody, I might've been like, can we switch this around? Can I just, cause it's all me. So just let me grab a different dog. I feel pretty confident in him that, he did handle both of them fine. I believe we were coming off of a back-to-back with him when that happened. So, but otherwise, Shock just had a couple tougher situations, a little bit, just needed handled. Nobody that day really did anything super crazy, but just needed handling. Like, it wasn't there was just little things, and that's kind of been the story of them. So the next day it was pouring rain almost all day, which was fantastic for quail.
Sarcasm.
Yeah.
As Aiden would say.
So the next day, Doc and East each got a pass. And I would say everybody definitely earned their failures that day. They, both Shock and Doc had issues with running birds and seeing them and trying to work wet running birds. And just needing to find a bird. If I see a bird running and I don't have a bird yet, like, that's the one I kind of need you to work. So you need you to work with me. And both of them struggled with that a little bit. Being able to see that bird running around on them. So East had an issue with a back that he doesn't normally. East is rock solid, and he did stop. It was more of an obedience. He stopped, and then he kind of lost confidence. And instead of not thinking, he thought and said, I don't think that dog is pointing, and then moved on and then went, oh, maybe it is pointing. But by that time, it's too late. So he kind of made his own decision there. But most of the issues on Sunday had to do with wet birds, running birds, just being able to see birds mostly, and having to be handled into them. So a lot of handling. Oh, there's that bird running. So that's the brief overview of how that went.
Okay. So we ended up with a few passes on East and Doc and singles on the other dogs, which is can be part of tough weekends. I mean, that really is. Now, the big differences, and this is something that we're going to talk about because the compare and contrast here, we'll get into this. This is one of the things I wanted to talk about. But we also ran the Kansas NAVHDA test this weekend on our property. And it was a really good event all the way around. I think that the number of volunteers that we got were small but powerful. they know what they're doing. And we were able to accomplish a lot with a few people and did it in ridiculous levels of efficiency, which allowed us to finish a lot of dogs and, finish the tests in a very reasonable amount of time each day. So stuff did not drag on. Now, we don't have everybody with us. We just have, we were talking about this before we get started. I'm going to have to push Kat, or maybe I'll end up doing it. We'll see what Kat wants to do because she ran dogs this weekend too. But so did Tessa and so did Isaac. And all three of them did extremely well with all of the young dogs that ran. I think it would be a cool conversation to talk about puppies and what puppies do too, and how to prepare them for that. But for the big dog category, Jess, you ran Friday. This was a 3-day test.
I did, yes.
All right, talk into the mic for us.
I got you.
Okay.
So first up was Thunder. We were the first run of the day.
And then you also ran Turbo, which Turbo does not belong to us. He is in for training. Yep, and if you are listening to this and are hoping that we will hunt test or NAVHDA test dogs for you as well, doesn't happen very often. So reach out because we have a minimum number of dogs that we can actually commit the campaigning time to. It's insane. So the additional amount of time, effort, and energy that goes into campaigning dogs, we run short on availability for that. So Friday, you ran Thunder and Turbo. How did they do? This is again big picture.
So we didn't have rain, so we actually it called for rain most of the weekend, but it was wet in the field for Thunder.
Yeah,
we found lots of birds. Birds were sitting, but they got up fine. He handled really well. I had some handler moments where I kind of educated myself because as a trainer, I've been doing this a while. Handling's a little bit newer for me overall. And so I was doing things that Mike lovingly called me out on. He was like, hey.
One of the judges.
And so I appreciated all the learning opportunities. I thought Field for Thunder went really well. He found a random bumper. I really appreciated the random bumper find, and he delivered to hand, and that gave me a chuckle. So I'm kind of a nervy girl. So jumping into testing, I'm like trying to regulate my breathing and understand everything's going fine. So having like a little like comic moment where Thunder's like, here's this bumper for you. It kind of helps me regulate and slow down and be like, oh yeah, everything's okay.
He is a bit of an old pro in that there are portions that he is more on edge, but at the same time, field wise is not really one of them. He's pretty, pretty there.
He did great. Was super happy with his field work. Steadiness wise, I can't think of anything that he did maybe that, because you were gunning for me, so you got to also see it and maybe a different perspective than I was.
He ran flawlessly.
Yeah, he did great. He did great.
Mm-hmm.
So then for the utility test aspect of things, we go through the field portion, and then on that specific day, I think we went to duck search next.
It was a blended. So there was some puppy stuff happening. The utility dogs got a break between every event, but we don't have to go into what the puppies did, but they did get to rest between everything.
From a testing component, we went field, duck search, drag, and then the remain by blind.
Perfect. And then we'll go. We're not going to spoil it.
You don't want to spoil it?
We're not going to spoil it. We'll get through it on how each dog actually scored throughout or for the day. But he did well in his duck search. He did well at the remain by blind portion. But where were the thing? I mean, how did the remain? Because that's been a weakness for him before, like that healing portion. And it's when he has to truly wait in that situation.
Yeah, I think he's also kind of like a little more visual. So when I leave him and go over the hill to shoot, he just wants that engagement, I think, a little bit.
Wants to be able to see you.
Yeah, what are you doing over there? And he's not trying to be naughty or lack stability. He's just wanting to see what we're doing.
Yeah.
And
I didn't get to see his drag. I don't know where I was at. But.
He did great. Yeah, he delivered well. Yeah.
He did it about as fast as you could possibly.
Yeah, it was a straight...
I mean,
and immediately back, and
I bet 40 yards from the feather pile, he had the feather pile and was awesome. Let me go.
Yeah. Oh, I fell down. That's funny. I forgot. Yeah. Cause he was just like, as Charles said, he was like, it's right there. And it wasn't necessarily that he pulled me over. It was just kind of like wet that day. And I just stepped just right. And I released him and he just like beelined down to the bird, brought it right back.
I mean, as fast as a dog can possibly run down and back.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, full speed both ways.
Yeah.
Where you're a little nervous coming back. You're like, gee, you're going to drop that? Because it's going so fast.
It was a lot of fun. So the experience of running him, he was a very enjoyable dog to run. So thank you for letting me run him.
Thank you for running him.
Yeah, I was super pumped.
How did Turbo do? This is where we're going to have a little more to talk about. I know, but.
So Turbo, to start off with, is like the compliment sandwich type of mentality. He was very handleable. Like, I think that's a very important thing that I need to remember. Even when things don't go well, you can be like, well, what did go right? Otherwise, you can kind of beat yourself up and put yourself in a hole about, oh my gosh, that was so unexpected. But he was very handleable. I think he was just having a great day, and steadiness in the field was kind of a struggle for him at that moment. And he just needed handled and reminders, that sort of thing. He had a bird that was a safety that flew up and over his head and sat down. I'm not good at yards, but not that far from him.
15 maybe.
Yeah. And I woed him and he stopped and he didn't go retrieve the bird. He handled as he should have. So it was just basically steadiness after the flush with the shot. He was just fired up, ready to go.
Absolutely.
And needed handled, that sort of thing. Also, birds were harder for me to locate than they were with Thunder. I think birds were moving a little bit more. It had dried out. The wind was picking up, that sort of thing. So just a little bit different field run as the second dog of the day. So birds were doing different things at that point.
Absolutely. And then he moved on to the duck search portion, which from what I could see, obviously score said it. We'll give that one away. He got a 4 in his duck search, and I think he deserved a 5. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, he did a great job. Yeah. Duck search with Turbo has always felt really good. Like, he took to it really well. Training has always been really fun in that sense. He found and recovered and retrieved his own duck. He didn't need it shot for him. He's like, this is my duck and I'm taking it with me.
Yeah. He's a uniquely calm dog while doing duck search. Like,
methodical
but like always just constantly going, but never
probably,
like super
I would
excited.
say less methodical, more stoic in a sense of as a dog as a whole.
Yeah.
Because he
as
moved,
a whole. Yeah.
Yeah. He swims hard and he was searching and covering ground well. Methodical would be like watching Quest do her duck search.
Oh yeah. Definitely not like
she's
Quest. Just
not breaking.
Moves with a purpose. He's never like confused when he's out there. He's like, I'm going to look in this corner.
Either.
No.
Yeah. Very under
something
control.
That can happen.
And part of that personality of Turbo is kind of why he caught me off guard in the field, because he's very reliable and kind of very predictable in the way he does things until he's not.
Yeah, that's every dog.
Judgment.
Yeah, that's
every dog though. I mean, as soon as you feel, I can remember I ran Shooter twice and he literally had a perfect day going. I mean, he's on track for a 200 in his utility score, and he completely blows the healing portion too. And then I set him by the blind. He stands there perfectly, makes a perfect retrieve. I say perfect because there was nothing he could have done better in any of it to finish with a prize 3, 190, or, I don't know, 188 prize 3 or something like that.
Very high.
Because of healing. One portion that I was not, quote unquote, worried about.
Right.
And then the next time he blew his duck drag, like he ran out and got confused by somebody that was in the gallery, which should not have affected him. And then worked out and I don't know, didn't find his duck or set it down like 3 or 4 times on it. Just like, what are you doing? And so they are animals and not machines. So the only part for me that's really hard when it comes to the utility test aspect of things is I want to finish them and I want them to do the highest level that they can. And now examples being Turbo's next opportunity would be maybe June or something, depending on, because of how you have to enter them in events and when time's available and stuff. So that makes it a little bit harder than the AKCs. You can get into a lot more events, whether that's just more availability or we drive further or lack of them filling at quite as much, but even AKC tests fill some too. So it's, I don't know. You can run a lot more dogs at an AKC event. That's for one thing.
You get more opportunities to run. And we just have a kind of a busy spring. I mean, we're just between Masters and the seminar, and we're just busy. So finding another test is going to be really hard until June. And it's not like it's East where he's going to be here, all summer long and there's an opening and he's ready. I can just go run him. Somebody's paying to have him here. So,
but Turbo's Remain and his duck drag, I didn't see those pieces. I had to go, I don't know, pick boys up or something.
His Remain, he did a really good job. He was pointing his decoys so hard, like
tail poof.
But he's worked on
pointing.
We've had decoys out. He's just an entertaining dog. So no, he was so steady. Like he maybe glanced just a little bit, but went right back to pointing. The judges enjoyed it. It was a talking point. Retrieved out of the water, brought it right back. His drag, he did well. He kind of cut to the left right away and worked east drag.
Thunders.
So sorry. Yeah, Thunders. And anytime I'm doing like tracking drags, anything, you do your best, set him up well. I felt like my setup was well. And then he kind of did that, but then he got on his track and worked it out and recovered his duck. But initially you release him and he went boop, and your heart like panics a little bit. You're like, oh man. And he recovered and he did well.
So to kind of explain that, when they do the drags for the utility test, it's 150 yards.
100 to 200.
100 to 200. So they drag a duck and the dog has to track the drag duck, which is very easy for an adult dog to do. It really is. From a scent standpoint, it's very easy. And what they're judging is the dog's ability to complete the task from an obedience standpoint. And the whole point is to get the duck out of sight of the handler so that you can, and then there's a judge at the opposite end. So you've got judges on both ends. How did they do following and the request to track? And then what do they do when they're out of sight of the handler? Dog gets to this duck that should be extremely easy to find. And they go, I don't really want to pick that up, or I'm going to eat it, or I'm going to bury it, or I'm just going to pick it up and turn and go. So that is the biggest portion of that, is evaluating what will the dog do out of the handler sight, which is kind of the remain by blind portion too. Mm-hmm. What will the dog do when there is gunfire out of the presence of the handler? They're trying to remove potential whatever handlers can do, and see what level dogs are trained to complete tasks. So,
and if you think about it from a hunting standpoint, they're out of sight, out of your influence pretty often with dead game potentially. You shoot ducks that swim off, you shoot a rooster that sails and they mark it, and next thing you know, they're tracking a running bird and they're 400 yards away from you. So it's just part of just a way to kind of judge that. You got to kind of recreate the situation in a test, and so that's part of it as well.
So Thunder had a good day. Turbo had also a good day with a hiccup in the field.
Hiccup. Yeah, I felt good about everything else other than the field. And it's one of those things that it was just the day we had.
So do you know the exact scores for the thing? Actually, I have them.
I left it in the kennel.
I have Turbos. I don't know what Thunder's was.
I don't remember.
I could text Tessa. It's in the calendar room.
I do. Hold on now.
Turbo is 184 prize 2.
A 184
and
prize
190. I do have it. 198 prize 1.
Haha.
For Thunder.
So Thunder is utility prize 1 dog, and Turbo should have been a utility prize 1 dog had he not had a goof up in the field. So to break it down, I wish I could plug this in to show it, but I will send this over so you can see scorecards. I think that's an important part of this process. Some people know what they are. Some people look at them going, oh my gosh, what is all of these numbers and spaces?
Yeah.
And that's where attending what do they call them now? Aims and Rules Clinic.
Aims and Rules Clinic. Yep.
Okay. So you can attend an Aims and Rules Clinic to learn the scoring process and what the expectation is and how it is viewed by the judging team. But there are minimums that you can get in different categories. There are a few categories that you can get 3s to be a minimum of a prize 1. And then there are a few categories, pointing being 1, duck search being 1, and I'm sure Charles knows off the top of his head. Nose, desire are the other 2 big ones.
Yep.
So
there's 4.
And then you could get 3s in all of the other categories, still get a prize 1, which just means truly when they're looking at the overall picture of what that dog does, I think that there's to compare and contrast, I think that there's a more realistic view in NAVHDA. Was that dog handleable to a high level and able to complete a high level of tasks with you as a handler? So when you look at the AKC tests, some of the things, I think honestly, from what I saw gunning, Thunder would have passed a master brace, pending he backed, would have passed a master brace in his field portion. He did really, really well. He's a master hunter. He understands these things and has test exposure and whatever else. Turbo would not have. No, but he was handleable. And that's the thing that I want to point. So I got the gun and Jess is beating herself up. Like I expected this dog to do better. And we all did. We all have extremely high expectations, and that was out of character for him. But he didn't blow up and completely blow you off. He jumped at shot out of excitement and tried to go, but with a simple, firm, whoa, he stopped. Yeah. Completely on a dime.
And he was also
without question.
I could have drove him to any bird because Turbo, he turns.
Yeah, very
Turbo.
handleable.
He's very cooperative and handleable, and we just had a hole in our day. It's fine.
Yeah. So his steadiness total came to a 2, which is a big part of the issue. So
and he needed a 3 at least. Right?
He did. 3 is the minimum for a prize 1. Yep. Everything else that he got was in or above all of the categories, and for a very high prize 2. I mean, he did a really nice job. So Thunder, this is his 3rd attempt at the test.
He went 3-2-1.
Awesome. So Charles ran him the first couple times and struggled at the steady remain by blind in 1 event and healing portion.
Well, the first time I ran him, we struggled with duck search. And so we worked on that a ton, and I became the super fun guy at water where I get to just kind of do what I want. And then when he is arguably one of the most driven retrievers in the kennel. And when it comes to working period, he wants to work. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
And then you can say, oh, not only are you going to work, you're going to do a marked retrieve with gunfire. And the balance is that he needed a little bit more, he needed to be a little more calm, a little more contained. And the last time I ran him, he was not. And that came out in the healing course. He just was.
And I don't have the same associations that you have built developing all this other part. So I was a little bit more I think you signal excitement with him a little bit. Yeah,
definitely. And it shows up in different ways. Both times I ran him, his retrieving was very mouthy and rolling birds. And I'm like, what is he doing? But that's just part of his excitement. Whereas with Jess, out, calm, no problem at all. And he, I never saw any of that with him when she ran him. Whereas with him all day for me, both times I ran him, he's rolling birds and just you can just tell he's at a different level of excitement. So just a little harder for him to contain himself, which can help you in some ways, but sometimes for most of these dogs that really truly know their task, when they're that excited and over overstimulated, it actually comes out and makes things worse. Like you would think, oh, he's that pumped to do a duck search. Well, sometimes that can actually make it worse. So I said, Jessica.
Yeah. And this is a big part, a huge part of the fact that we do have a team here. Everybody has different strengths and everybody has different weaknesses. And when you can take a collection of really good dog trainers, you can get there. If you are training owner, handle, train, do it all yourself, and Thunder was your dog, you may be stuck in that 2 category forever because of the fact that something is going to give in a zone of, could be, but something's going to give in a category of overamped or whatever, what it took to get him, which if you look at the entire thing, full picture in his development, he was realistically ready when he was younger to run and excel at duck search and the field portion side of things. He would have been more on edge from a field standpoint, but had a better understanding of all of the water work from what the expectation is and everything. And he came back and I said, well, I'm going to put a master on him. So I took and handled and ran him. And when I do that, we say, stop thinking. Right. I need you to only do what I'm asking. If you do anything that I didn't ask, you will be corrected for it and reset. And then I will ask you to do the things. And if you do everything that I ask in a test day, you will pass. If you don't, there's a 50-50 at best shot that you'll make the right decision. So in that process, he went to, I need to probably check before I go do this. And that hurt him from a duck search standpoint, which is what we saw in his first attempt at that.
And he was more ready. And then we said, well, we're going to hold off. He's doing really good on his duck search. He's doing everything really well. But we're going to back off of that because he needs to run master first. And when he got done with master, we saw a pullback in that he would go out and then he would go, I'm not sure I'm supposed to be doing this. I'm not 100% sure that you really want me to go do this. Yep. So I'm going to come back to you. And easily you'd send him again and he'd go, but that's not the test doesn't work that way. So that was where he was struggling a little bit. And so, it just took a little bit of time and a little bit of party time with me. And then we went a little probably too far that way. So,
which is where the balance comes in. You've got Jessica, who knows how we train and handle. The verbiage is the same. The handle is the same. All of the pieces are interchangeable enough that I can confidently go into the kennel and take any dog that either of you have worked with or trained or handled and ask them and say, what do they know? Right? We have to have fair expectations, but what do they know? Oh, they do know how to heel. They know how to recall. They know how to, and I can take them out and handle them instantly because I know what that handle will be. So when we take this transition, Jess worked him a couple weeks ish. Yeah. And I said, all right, we're going to go run him. So now we have, had I gone out there and ran him, it's possible. It's not 100%, but we could have gone back into he goes, well, I know that I need to listen and behave. And he would have been perfectly obedient through the entire thing and lacked the independence to go do his duck search portion again. Like he would have been unsure of what can I do? When you take Jess as a, third party person here, she can say, well, there is zero baggage here because this is the first that you've truly worked with him.
Yeah.
But he knows how to do all of the pieces. Right. So this is the power of a team, which is what I preach to everybody that is interested in bringing dogs here for training or anything. We have the pieces to match personalities. We have the pieces to be able to help each individual dog to excel at whatever they need or have what they need to be able to excel. So,
yep.
The next pieces, Charles, you ran on Sunday.
I did.
The puppies ran. We'll leave that for now. They did really well, but we're going to leave that for now. You ran on Sunday. How did that look?
Yep. I ran East and Hazel. And so are we saving scores? You want to wait till the end?
It's up to you. We did kind of anticlimactic, just said them. So whatever.
So, ran East and Hazel. East went first in the field, and we missed the rain because it rained on Saturday.
Oof, yeah.
3/4 of the day. So
a lot.
Yeah, perfect time for that. The one thing that it did do is that we ran 10 puppies in the field on Saturday, and Mr. East definitely showed us that there was plenty of birds left over.
Oh my goodness.
I think
I got to gun all of the utility braces, and he did. I was like, how many birds do they put out this morning?
And he was also pointing them at like that first bird he hit at like 45, 50 yards.
At least.
Both of them kind of hit that same zone.
Yeah, it was like, I looked and looked and looked, and I'd made up my mind. I was like, I'm pretty sure that this bird is really far up, but I'm going to look and I'll do the thing and I'll get to the grass and then I'm going to move him up. But he handled his steadiness as you would expect a dog running through master wood. I don't think he did anything as far as steadiness goes. So much so that he was having an issue where I could have used more bird contacts, which I know sounds crazy. But in his issue, which we'll get to, more was better, that the judges said, we never say this. Let's go to the trees and find more birds, because he just was so steady. And I mean, after like bird 2, I was like, yeah, he's good. Like he's locked in. So East did end up having an issue.
Also not something I have ever said about any dog other than probably Vex, but never, ever.
No,
No, bird 2. We've seen enough. We don't need to find any more. I don't care how good or bad it was.
Yeah. So East handled well, did everything well. His retrieves were interesting.
I think I'm just a coward though. So or you like to pass.
Yeah. You know the rules of the game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll get into both dogs and how I tried to problem solve them, but I don't know exactly if it was him feeling really well, because he has had a little bit of an issue with a potential foreign body that we've been fighting since Texas.
Yeah, not potential. It's 100% a foreign body. It's just a matter of what
and how
bad.
how
we can take care of it.
So he was looking a little rough, and in training last week, you could tell he was feeling a little down, and he had some swelling on his side, some fluid. And so he got put back on antibiotics and a anti-inflammatory pain reliever. And he came out of the box feeling very, very, very good. Maybe as good as he's felt in a while. Yeah. So he went out for his first retrieve and proceeded to act like a puppy. I don't know how else you could describe what he was doing. He went straight out and picked it up. He never dropped him. He never did any of that, but he just pranced and ran circles and
around everyone.
He just pop wheelies.
Yeah, he was just, it was.
He didn't throw them up in the air, but it looked like he was going to.
Yes. And I was like, okay, like I did not expect this at all. So, I mean, I've seen East be happy and do that a little bit, but normally here, and he's like, oh, okay. Yep. I know the rules.
So sorry.
Yeah. Oops. Sorry. And he was like, nope, look at me. Look what I have. So every retrieve, he was doing circles. So ideally, in utility, you go back to the dog, you release them with a command, a cue, whatever you want to do. If you remote, if you tap, whatever you do, you release the dog to retrieve. They go out, they pick up the bird, and they present. That doesn't necessarily mean swing into a heel or sit to front, but they need to be standing still and
deliver
give you the bird. Mm-hmm. Not doing circles around you and then you snatch it out of their mouth, which is what I was almost having to do.
Circles around you and the judges and the gunners. And he was just showing off to everybody. Look what I did.
Yeah. So, I had to
hide. I was like, don't stay away.
So, I had to start, using cues to get him to come to me, and multiple of them. And he still was not really delivering. I mean, it was still moving quite a bit while I'm trying to get the bird from him. And so it was like, all right, bird 3, the judges are like, hey, you know what's going on, right? This isn't good. And I'm like, yep. So that's a definite sign that you need to be doing something different because it's not working. So, one thing that I like about running utility is that you can problem solve in the test, during the test, and can potentially improve your score. And
that's a big part of what he said. The judges came and talked to him. Like that's That's a big difference. Again, comparing and contrasting the two events. Though the steadiness and retrieving expectation on paper is listed as the same, in an AKC event, had these things happened and it required excessive handling for the steadiness or even the retrieving, depending on, he would have got in trouble with what he was doing, probably to the point of not passing a master test.
Had I not said anything, I mean, I would have handled it differently.
It's a fine line too, because in NAVHDA, you cannot get away with as much from a retrieving standpoint as you can from a steadiness standpoint, and still receive high enough scores, right?
Right.
I mean, it's documented, you're docked, but you can get away with movement if they're stopped, as long as it's not excessive and all of those things, the rules there, where in the hunt test, any amount of movement that requires handling basically disqualifies you at the master level, but they are a little more lenient on handle for the retrieve category. So it would depend, but he was borderline either way.
Right.
He would have gotten it was not optimal.
No. So,
but the judges come and say, hey, let's go find another bird so that you can fix this. And we can kind of balance these scores out to show truly an average of what his day was that should look better than what he's doing right now.
Right. So, and we found plenty of birds. So I got to try lots of things. The next bird contact, you generally don't move when you don't move yourself once the dog's coming back to you. So if you send the dog and you're standing in a bush, you can move over or whatever you need to do. But once you're standing in a good spot, you just don't move. And so he was coming in and he was coming into my right, which he knows to come into my left and swing into a heel. And so I just made a big physical move in front of him. Like, stop, don't do that. And then he looked at me and I went, all right, I got him. And then he blew by me and went and did his little loops. So I was like, well, that didn't work. So I had to call him to me. So that physical movement is a pretty big cue. It's you might as well have yelled here. It's the same thing in the scoring system. So tried that. After that bird, I cast him off and I called him back and said heel and kind of did that a few times. Like, hey, like this is what we do. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, you know what to do. This is not you at all. And he wasn't doing it in any sort of like I don't want to put human characteristics to him, but it wasn't malice. You could tell he was just like, this is awesome. Like, I'm having a great time.
Fun. Yeah.
So, but we never really got, I mean, maybe one of them, I kind of used a pretty hard here when he was close that he basically got there. But I think we found 8 or 9 birds and it was, he had a couple that were on borderline prize one work. And then the rest were very much, the prize he received, which was not a prize one. Yeah. So it was, it was surprising and I did not expect it out of him. I mean, he's been doing great in masters and I have not seen that out of him. I've seen the happy East, but it's always been happy East to me. Like, wee, and then he swings into a heel and he's like, look what I got, Do
you think home turf, like he was like knew where he was at and he, do you think familiarity? I don't know, because I never really ran him. Like, it's not like he's run those fields a bunch or. Yeah, no, that's true.
I just felt like it was a combination of him feeling really well and maybe have not felt as well. And I do say probably more during AKC when they get to the bird, as soon as they look up, East here, because I can say that and it's not, it's fine. Whereas in utility, I'm not going to say that unless I need to. And so when we get to Hazel, I was starting to see not the same issue, but a retrieving issue that, again, like, I'm like, where is this coming from? And I handled it a little differently and instantly saw results. So I'm not sure because his duck retrieves and everything were great. So, I don't know if it was a context with the bird because his duck retrieves were fine. So yeah, we went to duck search again with him and he did a great job. He got to move on to make sure this isn't hours long. he got to flush some geese off of one of the islands that we are definitely going to have some baby goslings, I think, because they are trying to nest bad. But he went out and that almost kind of spooked him a little bit. Like, hey, why did that thing fly away? But he stuck with it and did a great duck search. I don't know if he did. He did. He kicked out 4 ducks. He found a whole bunch of ducks. We went on and then we did drags. His drag was very weird. He got very distracted. And every time he would cross it, the wind was at our back. Every time he would cross it, he would come to me. He would work it back to me. And then he would almost get to me, be like, oh, and then he would go cast out. And he did that 8 times. He just kept working it backwards. And then finally he got far enough down the drag that he went, oh, this is the way I go. And then he ran straight out to his duck, picked it up and came straight back and, swung into heel. And I was like, where was this in the field? Come on, buddy. And then his healing, remain, all of that was good. I think I might've had to give him, I don't remember exactly. It's only been not even 24 hours. I don't remember exactly, but I may have had to give him a cue coming in, with his duck, but I may have also done that just as a precaution because of how the field went. I want to make sure they did well. So, to give away East score, he got a 190 point prize 2, which is a crazy high prize 2. I think Splash and Shock, both of their prize ones are less than that. So, it was just the retrieving thing, and it was not something that I expected at all. But now that I know it, and I think I know why, when we get into that part of it, I think I know what I'm going to do differently. Hazel went out. She ran after East and had a good field. Again, was hitting birds really, really far away. And she had her second bird, I think, second or third bird. I had to pick up and throw all of Hazel's birds. I don't think a single bird. Maybe her first one flew. They were all too wet from the rain all night.
Well, and I talked to the bird planners about it, and they got better. They were doing a semi-traditional setting method of dizzying the birds and then rolling them through tossing them through the grass. So then they hit multiple grass clumpies. Now all of a sudden the bird is a drowned rat before it's even touched the ground. And I said, dizzy it a little bit and then just go and drop it straight down, and it'll be a little drier. And the puppies, a lot of the birds flew, or at least 80% flew for as wet as they still got trying to get out of the grass. So it's a little bit part of it, but that's what you deal with extremely heavy dew and wet, rainy days. I mean, it's tough, which is why you have to prepare for it. This was
absolutely.
This is a comment that was made just the other day. Someone said, man, I can't believe that. I saw in your story, you guys are out there with rain jackets and training in the rain. Well, if we don't train in the rain, the dogs are not prepared for it. Now, granted, I don't go out of my way to train in the rain all the time, but when we have testing dogs, it's essentially...
We don't stop if it's raining.
No, unless there's lightning. Mm-hmm. It's a tough thing if the dogs have zero experience.
Duck search, it's amazing how much all the rain on the water can affect them. It can kind of make them like, what is that? If they've never really seen all those raindrops hitting the water, I've seen from judging, I've seen that affect dogs a lot. So I always, if it's raining, I will sometimes make a point to go work on a duck search in the rain. But she, so most of her birds had to be thrown. She was also parady with her birds.
A little bit.
I was not expecting that. And she was taking more than one cue to come back to me. So I would expect one and she would come back and finish, but it was retrieving was interesting. And I am crediting it because I don't know what else to think until I see something different with how I'm handling them in AKC. They got used to being handled. I'm not doing it in training. But in the testing environment, I am handling them because I can say it and try to make sure that retrieve is clean after that. And so, Hazel had one bird where she moved up quite a bit on her own, but she stopped herself, which would have picked her up in AKC, but otherwise, steadiness was fine. She had one bird that, my gunner saw running away and didn't keep an eye on. And I made a decision in that moment to relocate her on a running bird. It is as Ethan likes to say, the kiss of death. But I knew that I knew that I was struggling a little bit with retrieving, and I trusted her steadiness. And I know that the difference is that I'm not going to get picked up. I'm going to have more opportunities. I just had run this field. I knew there was going to be more birds for Hazel to work, but I wanted to get another retrieve and try to make sure that part of the test was going to be prize one work. And I moved her up, and she did exactly what you would expect on a wet running bird. She ran up and pointed it about, 6 inches away. She almost looking at it. I don't know if she was.
I bet she was. Yeah.
And she let me get about 5 feet from her. And she said, let me help you out here. I'll just grab this. So, I had to stop her on that. And then it ended up being a safety. So they couldn't shoot it anyway.
Yeah.
So I didn't, because it would be considered worked because she had pointed it and I had moved her up. So we were still working that bird. It was still within the steadiness sequence. So if it was shootable, it could have been shot and it could have been a retrieve. So that is the risk that you run when you do that, is that not only did it not help my retrieving score because we couldn't shoot it because of how it was handled, because she flushed it and it went the wrong way, is now her steadiness score got worse. So
go ahead.
I experienced that with Turbo. I had to relocate him, which definitely just compounds any steadiness issues that I was having.
Yeah, I feel like, so we say the relocate being a kiss of death. There's 2 parts to the problem. Okay, so when you hunt wild birds, you relocate dogs, or they do it on their own as birds move, which is a big part of why we hunt running birds, not steady to wing, shot, and fall, which some people do. It's fantastic. But even if you're saying, I will call you on this one, I want to come see it. If you are effectively hunting pheasants, steady to wing, shot, and fall, I would like to come see this, because I do feel like there will be some level of lenience to your quote unquote steady to wing, shot, and fall zone, that the dogs are getting away with pieces of the process that would not allow them to pass at test events or what have you, in order to be able to handle them. Or you are doing a lot of losing birds because they're running and the dog's not moving, and then you move them up and they may get on them again. They may not, just based on how scent works and the fact that they're dogs. So all of those things being said, we do know that relocating process happens when we hunt wild birds. But at the same time, if the dog's moving up and I'm with them and a rooster gets up, I waka waka boom, I have killed that bird. And it doesn't matter. It is a different time and a different expectation. And part of hunting, which I encourage and coach people on a regular basis, is you need to have fun. That is part of that. And if you are stressing about the level of steadiness or other things, now granted, yes, a big argument is steadiness helps from a safety standpoint, but I think that it helps from a safety standpoint more in a pen raised bird situation. And then on top of that, you need to just be aware of what is going on, which I know involves knowing who you're hunting with, all of these pieces. I know there's a big wrapped up into this, but from a testing standpoint, the kiss of death is relocate your dog, especially if they're solid and they know that there's a bird there and you know that there's a bird there and you can't find it and it's tough and you move them up. They, on average, dogs that have high retrieving desire and high desire to make both parts of the equation work are going to overpressure that bird. And if you train it, this is the caveat or the argument that I get, well, you need to train dogs to relocate and understand how to handle them. Okay. We are training them to relocate on dumb birds that are not moving, which only encourages dogs to overcrowd and overpressure birds on a regular basis. They stop pointing them at 20 to 30 feet or 50 feet or 100 feet, depending on setting conditions. They start pointing them at 1 to 2 to 3 feet or inches because they've been encouraged to, you can move up as long as you don't catch it. You can move up as long as you don't push it out, whatever. So
And she got more tippy tappy, creepy after that. It definitely affected her day.
It does. And I don't personally see the benefit. Now, the difference being, if you can make it happen, you know that bird is there. You need the bird. If instead of just directly relocating, which is not always an option, but if you can move them on and work back to it, this takes communication with judging teams and things of that nature. But if you can move them on and come back into it, then it provides a more realistic setup again, where you may have a better idea of where that bird is. It's not always an option. It's not always acceptable. Some judges may view that as a delayed chase type environment. Some judges may say, no, we need to see you relocate them. Other judges may say, yeah, that sounds fine. Go ahead and move on. But that would be my approach is, can we say, all right, we can't find this. We've looked. We've put in the effort. That's always part of this process, but we can't find it. I'm going to go ahead and hunt down this way. And then we'll make a loop back up through this and see if we can come up with wherever it moved to. That is a better situation when it is possible.
That bird was moving.
It was moving a lot.
Oh,
yeah, it was nowhere near.
It would have been, even if I hadn't lost sight of it, you probably would have struggled to find it, I feel like, because it moved.
Oh, shoot, yeah. It was right along the edge of the grass to begin with, and then we ended up finding it 8 to 10 feet into the cut cover and 15 or 20 feet ahead of where it was. I mean, it was nowhere near where you would have expected it to continue running.
Moving.
But so we recovered from that, and she got a little
long ranch short.
Yeah.
Relocating dogs, not optimal.
And so her retrieving was not as much of an issue as East, but it was definitely borderline. And so on her next bird, I just gave her a positive, a good girl when she picked it up. And that was enough of a cue for her to be like, oh yeah. And she came right in and boop, boop, boop. And so then the next 2 retrieves were no problems at all. So that's kind of what made me put it as I was trying to figure out, like, now Hazel's doing it. Like, what is common amongst them? Obviously me, but what am I doing that could be different in these 2 dogs? I don't understand why they're doing this now when I don't feel like they did this a weekend ago. And so that was the only thing I could come up with. So I was like, well, let's try this. And it worked. So Hazel came out of the field. I believed she had redeemed herself well enough. She wasn't her parading or going around me, and wasn't
drastically minor compared to
East. And then she got 2 really solid, nice retrieves at the end. So,
and even East wasn't that bad that he just done the last 2 or 3 fine instead of 8 of them the same.
Right.
He just needed to see improvement somewhere.
Yeah, he could have moved into the 3 category, which is prize 1 work. It was okay. You paraded a couple with the first because you were happy and straight out of the box this morning, feeling your oats and whatever. Now settle in and do the job that you know how to do, and do 4 of them perfect or dang near perfect.
Yeah.
Then you're into the 3 to maybe even redeeming to a 4, depending on what they saw and how good or bad it was. That's a judging team's decision, but I mean, you're closer to that category.
Right.
And the good girl you talked about, is that the gray area of a cue? Because it's not really a cue. That's
depending on how it's used, right?
Well, yeah.
So he kind of was using it as like that cue-ish.
So it's something that you are allowed to say. You can give a positive, a whistle, hey, I'm right here.
Okay.
Kind of a thing on everything but the drag. So I try not to. I just prefer, when I'm running utility, to not say anything. It just.
But if it comes off as a good girl.
Yeah. If you're like, girl, but I didn't even say it that way. I literally just said, "Atta girl," and I mean, it was just enough for her to be like, and I don't know this for sure. I'm going to do some more.
But you say nothing and she runs past you and you say, "Oh, good girl." And then, that's a different scenario than, "Hey, I'm over here."
Right when she picks it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's also like from a handling standpoint, like being aware of when you are using cues, when you have to use them. Like that was something that moving through the test, I became more aware of.
And I think that on average, that's a category that when you get into that utility level testing, if you're new or green to it, that you don't recognize all of the potential cues that you are giving your dog. Like some people it's movement, some people it's hand taps or waves or any of these extra pieces that you didn't even know you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is why the judges will generally come up to you and say, hey, you're doing this thing and it could potentially affect your score. So we want you to know, just not do it unless you have to. Or the dogs are doing this thing and you need to fix this somehow. So, and then Hazel went on. So field, we finished up. Then Hazel went on to duck search. I saw something in her. This is again, she ran in Texas for context. Hazel ran, utility in Texas. Mm-hmm. And absolutely crushed her duck search in Texas. She looked great. I could not have asked for a better duck search. In training, she looked great. I ran her up here. She looked great. I didn't see anything at all that would make me think, oh, I need to do more with her. When I got her to the water and I shot and sent her, she was like almost frantic. Like she was so excited that she couldn't swim. She was acting like Mama Grit.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, and almost freaked herself out with how she wasn't able to like level and plane out, and it caused her to come out of the water, and she come back almost back to me. And then she really didn't, she kept going back to the water and looking like, I want to go, but I can't. And then coming back and running around behind us. And she never stopped, but she never also went anywhere.
She didn't go anywhere. No.
And the one time she did start to swim again, she was swimming fine. And I'm like, there you go. You got it. And then she kind of frantic swam a little bit, and then she swam normal, and then she kind of frantic swam. And in one of those frantic moments, she turned and saw the shore was closer behind her and swam back to shore and kind of did the same thing. So I was not optimistic about her duck search score leaving the duck search. So we went to do her drag, and she had no problem at all. Went straight down to her drag. And
talking about duck search, did you ever pass off your shotgun with Hazel? I noticed you like held it a long time. I don't know if it was like Ethan who like we were talking about, you know, you're relatively still, not trying to influence her. And it felt like you were still for a while because you wanted her to get out.
Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe it was Annie, but somebody was like, you can tell how the duck search is going by how long they hold their shotgun. and you were still like, you held it for a while.
Yeah. Not pointing it, just had it in my hands.
Right. You're just not trying to influence
I hadn't even like popped it so that the shell made a noise. I was like, why are you still here? You should not still be here. I don't need you to have an excuse to come over and see what I'm doing. Yeah. So and eventually the judges were just like, hey, we'll take that from you. I'm like, here you go. Like, you know, I'm not, it wasn't, I was just holding it broke open in front of me. Yeah. Just as a, like, I don't want to move because I don't know why you're here. Right. Because it was not typical for her at all. So
did it feel like a million minutes?
It felt like forever. Yeah. And the judges did say like, hey, it's been 5 minutes. You know, do you think you need to do something? And I said, well, she keeps trying to go. I can tell she wants to go. So you guys tell me when you want me to say something. I understand that if I don't say anything, this could not get better. Right. So, and then at one point she had made another cast behind me, and I said, do you want me to do it now or not? And they said, well, at this point, let's just play this out, because we were kind of getting towards the end of the time they were going to let her continue to run the same area of bank behind me. So her drag was fine. She ran down, picked it up, swung into a heel, looked great. I might have had to say her name real softly because she was standing like a foot, but just a little far behind me, just like swung into a heel, like it kind of
overswung.
Yeah. Just ended up kind of standing there like, please take the duck. And then I was a little nervous about their heeling because both of them did not really want to heel to their drag. But again, I don't know if it's context clues or it was the only time all day that I really felt like they didn't heel. I don't know what the deal was, but both of them did it. But they both healed fine. Yeah, just pumped. Both healed fine. And Hazel in Texas, when I ran her, got a 2 in remain, which is why she didn't get a prize one there. She did fine here. No problem at all.
What was her score on the remain?
In Texas?
No, here.
She got a 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I believe. or maybe a 3. I think she did walk over to the other corner of the blind or something.
She kind of scooted
She did
into the blind.
move within the blind, and I didn't know how that was
And
scored.
it was more like the same thing. She was like trying to stay engaged, connect with you, like peering over. And in that little tippy tappy she did, she kind of positioned herself.
I did remember because I came over the hill and I went, that's not where I left you. And I heard the judges laughing, but she might've got a 3, but she didn't, if she moved anywhere, she moved from, it's a 3-panel blind. So you have a front and 2 sides. And she went from the left side to the right side, basically. So, and it didn't go like around into the water.
No, just like scooched over, just trying to like tippy tap a little and peering.
Yeah. And then her retrieve was fine. She launched herself into the water. I was like, whoa, girl. She was very excited for her retrieve. And yeah, so she ended up with a prize 3 because she got a 2 in duck search. So, it was a day of not what I expected. I was not expecting that at all out of East. Like that totally almost, I feel like if I would have, I mean, I don't know what I would have handled something differently. Maybe I don't know what I would have done it will be something going forward when we get to that I will definitely try to recreate somehow. I don't know how I can or what I can do, but I do know that I will be handling differently when I'm running these guys in AKC. I will treat it more like utility. My thought process is I can get after you here and still receive a qualifying score. And then I'll lay the groundwork that you can't get away with not coming straight to me in a test. Yeah. And instead I feel like I set the expectation that you'll be handled for your retrieves. And that's what they thought that I was going to do. So something unexpected. Their dogs are always being conditioned, good, bad, or indifferent. Right. And I definitely believe that I conditioned some behaviors in them that I was not expecting. So that will be something that I do going forward. And
we both have master dogs to run still, like that we're prepping.
Yeah, so. Both of East
Turbo.
and Hazel
and Turbo.
And Turbo, and then you have a couple more too.
Yeah.
So what my prep was after my master weekend, was I put down a bunch of chucker for my dogs out in the open, and I hacked them into them. I handled them on the wrong side of the wind. The birds were up, and I handle. I mean, I handled them into those birds. And Doc, being Doc, was like, I'm just going to do this every time. He never once, like, in training, I'm trying to recreate a problem we had in a test. And he's like, nope, I point. Nope, I point. Nope, I point.
I'm a good boy.
Shock, on the other hand, was like, oh yeah, let's roll.
Let's do this.
So we were able to, our setup worked, and I ran all the dogs through it. And Splash also took full advantage of being able to see a bird and have a party time with it. So that was a specific training setup that I saw that they were struggling in. And I'm assuming we're getting to that point.
Well, before you got too far away from this, I was trying to pull this up, and I'll have to figure out it's something. Ooh, maybe. Aha, there we go. We are on our dams page. You can actually go to retired dogs, which is where she should be. Grit. There she is. So you were talking about swimming like her mama, which when you talk to Cheryl, that's swimming like Enzo. And Enzo, who was a fantastic dog and produced, he's a versatile champion. And she said he swam like this all the way across the blind water, 200 yards to pick up his duck and come all the way back. She's like, it was the longest blind retrieve that was done. It's like straight over and straight back that anyone had ever seen in their entire life, but he completed it. And that's a mark for amount of drive. Like if you suck that bad at swimming, but still have the drive and desire to go complete the task, that means a lot. So we do see a little bit in that category of they get high centered and they struggle to swim as well as some other dogs. But you were talking about that and just showing these are some of the pieces. There's a lot of pedigree there that should swim really well.
Yeah.
So we know.
And coming back to like overexcitement, like I had seen that early in her. If I hyped her up too much or did too much like visual or like something that she really was like, oh, there's the duck. I could see that little bit of panic swimming in her. And it's just where she was just super, super jacked. And I think that ended up being part of her problem.
Now, in this conversation, we've talked a lot about NAVHDA and the rules and the handle. Unfortunately, there is not exactly the same thing available for AKC. You can go to it is called a
Judges Seminar.
Judges Seminar, which they have them on occasion, and it is kind of the same, but not. There is not field work. It's just book work, which essentially it's a requirement in order to start the apprenticeship portion and remain a judge in AKC. But there's no field portion, and there's no, I don't know. It's a shorter day. It's less than what the handlers clinic is for NAVHDA, or the Aims and Rules clinic, excuse me. But if you're interested in learning more yourself or attending, if you go to NAVHDA.org, you can come down here to, it is right here under testing, Aims and Rules clinic. And then it talks specifically about the clinic and why. And then right here, how to find a clinic and the upcoming list of clinics. So if you're interested in doing it, here's the list of them. They fill up quickly, I would assume, on average.
And what Ethan means by field work is that in a Aims and Rules clinic, there's some classroom, and then you'll go out in the field with a scorecard.
And there's like mock judging, like you.
Yeah, you have a scorecard and you are a judge. So you get some classroom, and then you go out and you'll watch. They start with puppies, and you'll watch a couple puppies run, and you'll be in your own little groups that represent one judge, and then that will start to shape, so you can take basically the words out of the Aims and Rules book and then apply them directly to a dog. And the goal of those dogs are to not be zeros, because a 0 in pointing isn't that hard. Well, no pointing. And ideally also not a 4, because 4 is the top end. You can go, well, that I can tell that's a 4. So
yeah, the dog did everything perfect.
Yeah. So they generally will have, middle of the road, or they'll try type dogs. And then the next day, it's a 2-day event. And then the next day you will do, I'm assuming gun dog now, and then gun dog test and utility dogs. So you get to get on the other side of the judge's scorecard a little bit, and it will help you understand more of what they're looking for, which then can help drastically in your training to know, like, oh, that I thought that was okay, and that's not going to be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are following along here on the video portion, which you can, I believe, watch on Spotify or YouTube, there's a little look on how to find those pieces. So we've covered pretty well how each individual dog did. Hazel was I think you said it, but Hazel was a prize.
I don't remember the score, but prize 3. She had all prize 1 work and a 2 in duck search.
Yeah. And then East, I know we mentioned an extremely high prize 2.
Yeah.
And just a what were you thinking kind of event, which I had one of those with my own children this weekend, but a what were you thinking kind of event happened.
I feel like if I could have ran him this morning, we'd get a prize 1.
Yeah.
Like it was just, I think
even had you ran him on Friday and this happened and just re-entered him on Sunday, it would have been fine. You know, that kind of just because
he settled down and the rest of his retrieves were great.
Yeah. Just a fluke day. So, and that happens. And it's important, I think, to be able to say that. A lot of times we are viewed as pros and unapproachable and on some different level. Like, granted, yes, we now have the time to spend the next 3 or 4 or 5 days in a row working on something, prepping for an event where you have to go to work on average, and you may have your Wednesday night training group accessible or whatever it may be. But still, there are problems, and there are problems with all dogs. And it's more about how you approach those, learn from what happened, and then how you can move forward. So let's talk a little bit about the hunt test dogs. Well, that's the next event that's going to be coming up. So let's talk a little bit about the hunt test dogs specifically, and where they're going, and then what we're doing in training here in the next, they go not this weekend, the weekend after, because this weekend coming up here, I don't know. I think we typically release these. We're trying to release these on Friday, Saturday category. So you'll get this just in time to find out that the seminar was, you were too late for the seminar. But
is Colorado your next test?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is
not this weekend, but next.
The 10th?
10th and 11th.
2 weeks already.
Yeah.
I
know.
The 10th.
Yeah.
10th and 11th in Colorado.
Okay.
So soon.
So, and where in Colorado is that one?
I have not looked, to be honest.
Really?
Is it the Oris Ranch?
No, that's the one you're going to.
That's the one I'm going to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's in eastern Colorado. I believe I'm going north of Denver. It's a little bit further.
So you have effectively be 7 and 5, 11 more days of prep. 7 and 5 is not 11, but we're not counting today. Today's over. So, 11 more days. What are you going to be doing? And how is this, what are the big weaknesses? Let's go with that. What are the big weaknesses and how do we prepare? Because you can't completely change. These dogs are steady to wing shot and fall. All of them hunted at El Tesoro, standing literally thousands of quail.
Yep.
But there you have a crutch. I mean, you have an e-collar that you can't handle them when they get parady or when they think I'm going to maybe go try and get that one. It's different. It's hunting, not testing.
Yeah. So I touched briefly. I put some birds down to let them run in very short grass where they could see them.
Yeah. What are you going to do with a bird you can see?
Yep. You need to handle this just like you can handle. And also, I feel like if they had just come across it, they would have. I don't think anyone would have had a problem with it. But I specifically needed to handle you into this bird because this is your bird. Like we were birdless. I found a bird running. It's not ideal, but we have 3 minutes left in the bird field. You got to work this bird.
Yeah, it's barely enough time to do anything
else.
Yeah, it's not.
Going birdless is so scary.
Well, and you said earlier, like you were a little nervy and whatever else. So literally,
even gunning, I feel like sometimes I'm breathing harder than Charles because it's presentation and expectations and performance. Like
sure.
I can go train all day.
Sure.
But the performance is
it's a different level.
Same thing as sitting in front of the mic right now. I mean, you guys are balanced and I feel different than you guys, I'm sure.
Well, you
practice makes perfect.
There you go.
Tens of thousands of hours of sitting and talking at or to people. Right. It changes things. And that's the same. It's the same equivalent with the testing, but still in that moment, when I cast dogs off, no matter what the level is, if it's a puppy or a master dog or whatever, I am nervous for the first, 3 big casts that they actually handle and they kind of make a loop back to me and we haven't found a bird and I can, and then I'm like, all right, we're settled in here. It's not, I'm nervous till the first bird. I'm nervous until they've kind of shown that they're connected with me to some extent. And then after that, the nerves go away-ish and it becomes more focus on you screwed this up or how do I handle you in or out of trouble depending on what's going on. And then it just becomes more of a calculation type thing of how do we excel together. And then there is some nerves again that come back when it's like, how much time do we have left out here? Yeah. It feels like I've been out here for an hour and they're like, oh, it's, you got 9 minutes and 55 seconds in the bird field. It's like, what? we've already handled 3 birds.
Yeah.
No. So it's,
and it's a whole nother level for me, so same thing, cast off nerves. As soon as they're cast off, they handle a little bit. I'm like, all right, we're good. We're going to cruise. And this is specifically in AKC. And then we get into the bird field and it's pretty good. Let's go into the bird field. And then if it comes down to callbacks and it's like, they need to stand this honor for a callback. That's when I start, when I feel it again. Like they hit the honor and you're like, all right, just stand here.
Yeah. You work up near them. You're standing there and I'm just like literally in my head cussing under my breath going, don't just
stand here. Just
you have done it
all the time.
You have done it. You have all the pieces. All you literally have to do now is just not move. And that's where it comes down to when dogs, and I kind of briefly explained at that high level in AKC hunt test, if the dog stops thinking, which is a weird thing to say but I'm not saying, they don't have the oomph to do the things, but if they stop thinking, They don't make that mistake. They back because they know how to do that. And then they wait for direction.
Right.
And
that's what it comes down to. It's we
if
say
they're
not
on
thinking
edge going, this could be mine.
Right.
Then they go, oh yeah, it wasn't yours. And now you were picked up. So good job, bud.
Yeah.
All you had to do was stand there.
Yeah. And then, so I worked, that was specifically with their bird work. Everybody else handled well. I mean, they're going to get a bunch of quail shot, and they're going to have to stand a bunch of, I'll make it as goofy as I can. Cause they still did. I mean, we still had some hops and some, East had his one hop and then a weird thing on the back. So I will set up some goofy back with a cocker sitting or something. I'll set something up with a dog that's just woed, or I'll do something like that is lacking intensity, and he will back, and then he will look to me and want to know what to do. And he just needs to understand that you need to stop, and you just need to wait. Like, I will come and get you, which is not a thing that he's struggled with. So, it was not something that I expected, but it will, and anything that I set up for him will set up for everybody. So I'm setting it up. I want everybody to run through it. So, and specifically Little Miss Splash, she has the best memory, I think, of any dog. And she got into the woods on Saturday and had a good time and got picked up. And Sunday morning, her first run was at the same field, and she definitely did not forget. And we got a prize one utility last year. I felt like we were much more connected, had a better handle. This year, she's been a little bit of a wild child. So I am just working specifically on handling her. She in her Sunday test, she hit the bird field and immediately ran back to the woods and said, "I'm not coming out. I know there's birds in here," which is great when you want her to go dig a covey out of the field and out of the ranch in Texas. It's awesome. Go find birds, but we need to do this as a team. And she's lacking that a little bit. So she is going to work on a lot of handling. So you're going to listen when I call you, and we're going to try to shorten her up a little bit too, because she liked the tree lines in Illinois. That's for sure.
She likes to run, and I mean, literally exactly what we were just talking about is she does too much thinking, because she's intelligent. She's a dang good bird dog, and she's in a zone where. So we talked about this last time. It's harder to title out females without completely
Hazel.
Blowing off. Yeah, exactly. Hazel just came into heat. Now it's going to be hard to get her into
her one pass.
She needs one to be, she's got 5 master passes. She needs one, but there's going to be very few, if any, places that we can run her, because AKC hunt tests typically don't allow dogs in season, which is what we struggled with on the beginning half of a dog coming out of season that couldn't run in the early events. So Splash.
Splash.
Yeah. So,
and this is why Hazel went 3 for 4 and was looking just fantastic with tricks last year, and then came into heat.
Yeah. So it gets tough to get them finished, and they do pass theoretical or a peak category. They cross that bridge into a zone of where. And this is like Thunder was peaked to run utility and then moved past that into something else and didn't get to run, and then struggled. You got to work around it. Now we're working around a level of independence that's been built around hunting wild birds, and it's tough.
Yep. And it's great to, not see. I shouldn't say great. When I can't find her, and then your brace mate calls point and you go over there and it's actually your brace mate backing your dog. She's standing. It's great that she's finding and pointing her birds, but it doesn't help to get through the test. I need you over here with me so that we can do this together. I'm trying to help you get through the test.
Correct.
And if we can't do this together, it's going to be very difficult, because it's a team. And, we had that last year, definitely had it, coming into utility. We were rocking and rolling, and, I felt like we had it in Texas and lost it somewhere. So that's what we're working on with, she will get more time than the rest, but we always work on that, but she's getting specific things set up. She's going to go,
and everything's in flux. So like your handling ability was here, and now it's whoop, and now you'll bring it back, and you might have something else you have to work on later.
Yep. So the good news is that she's struggled a little bit with backing, which is wild because her sister Hazel, who's running at the exact same time in Master, absolutely backs she looks great. You don't ever have to worry about it. But the good news is that Splash did back on her own. She wasn't that steady. She went, I'm backing. Oh, wait, why am I backing? And she started to turn and whoop, and she immediately stopped and waited for me. Which is why she's running senior, because she's a little weaker in her backing.
Weaker there. Mm-hmm.
But it's starting to click. So there was some good things that happened as well, but the handling was very, 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 very frustrating for me. So much so that I pulled her from Sunday. I said, I can't continue to let you do this. This is this bad that another 25 minutes of you getting away with this is only going to make it harder to fix later. And so we didn't go over that, but I made the decision to pull her from Sunday, her second run. I said, I don't want to continue this. It's not good for her and it's not good for me. So
you knew he was pulling her. Like, that's a communication that happens, or were you?
No,
like,
I made the decision. No, in the moment after I ran her first field, I said, this cannot continue.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that I can't make.
Like,
the
I didn't know how much forethought, like, or if it was just like, we know now we're done. Like, for the rest of the day. It had crossed my mind before I ran her, but when I cast her off and tried to handle her and she immediately never even looked at me, I was like, if this goes the way it's feeling like, I can't let her continue this. It progressively got worse. Right.
So,
well, some people may remember, if you look back, there was a dog that I ran at the same time as Gunner, which Gunner is on our website as well. I shouldn't have closed that out.
Gun dog.
Old Gun Dog. Yeah, he's getting a little bit older too. I think he might be on the influential page. Oh, we got to move him.
Wrong page.
Yeah. Let's see here. There he is. Gunner. Superstar. He's a master hunter. Really, really nice dog. Shooter puppy. And you can see his pedigree right here too. And it's he's just a really, really, really nice dog. I ran him at the same time as Blue, just from Faithful Point, and Blue also a really, really nice dog. But Blue came with just a little bit of baggage. He had been running Dave and Maggie own him, and Dave had been running and lacks a little bit of experience, but has done incredibly well with some of the new dogs. I know he just finished McRae, and I don't know the full list, but like crushing some hunt test passes now, which is cool.
Awesome.
But was struggling a little bit with Blue, and he'd got out there and run him a handful of times at events. And by a handful, I think it was a lot. I don't know, but he, all
10,
multiple handfuls. But he had a little bit of that baggage in the category. And it was one of those things that, I always said to describe him to him as it was Jekyll and Hyde. We either got Blue that came out and handled appropriately, and you could tell which dog you had walking to the line. He was chill, he was relaxed, he was focused, he was healing. And then the next brace, he's like dragging me, and I get after him just a little bit like a leash pop, and he's like, man, doesn't even faze me.
Yeah.
And I go, well, hold on, judges, I'm guessing this one will be short. And I cast him off and I whistle at him, and he blows me off, and I whistle at him again. By the time I get him turned back around, this is a dog that I have zero control over now at this point. Zero. He is completely blowing me off, and he happens to make a cast that gets close enough, and I just like half walk running that way so I can close the gap to where it looks like he's casting two. And I get over there and I holler at him, and I got, whoa, hey, there you are. Yeah, I am here with you. And we pick him up. I'm like, I'm not playing this game. You've already learned on events how to get away with things, and the more opportunities I give you to do that. On the flip side of that, and this is something that I want to point out again, the amount of handle that you had with Turbo specifically, even though he made a mistake, he broke at shot and you handled him, I would not pick that dog up in a hunt test. He's out, and unless the judge makes you, which they're going to say, oh, he's done. And you can say, but I'd like to continue my time, because he's not causing problems. He is not running amok and blowing birds up and tearing through his brace mates' work and everything else. Unless there is an issue. So I'm not encouraging anybody argue with judges. That is a really good, it's a really bad thing to do. Okay. But you can say, I'd like to keep him down if that works, it's great. It gives you the ability in that testing environment to say, okay, you made a mistake, but that doesn't just end there. We can get better, and no, we are not passing, but you can learn for this afternoon where you get to run him again, or tomorrow morning where you get to run him again, depending on if it's a double or double. So all of those things being, if you haven't lost handle, that's where you can keep him down and utilize those pieces to continue on. So
yeah, and if she would have been, that morning, had I called her and she turned and hunted with me, and because in that run, she found a bird, stood steady, did everything she's supposed to do, but I could not. I mean, it was just Splash knew where to go, and Splash was going there, and it was only going to make my job harder to continue that. So it was just a decision. I don't remember if we even talked about it, but
it sounds like it was the right decision.
Yeah, she was wild child.
It's tough. It is tough. And I think that she, it's more her personality. And we talk about a lot with dogs as a whole. Like, she's a really, really, really nice dog. She is struggling more with the advanced level of testing and handling because of the amount of independence that she does have. Now, you breed that into something like Hex, who has the exact opposite of that. It's like an extreme level of cooperation and desire to please and balance those two out. Then you get dogs like Riot, who are very much, they have this like happy, want to work, go out and do things personality. Like, you can see aspects of Mom there, but then when you
real snappy, fast.
And when you whistle at him, he comes back to you, which, even as a little puppy, Splash didn't always do that. She's always kind of been a little extra, I mean, that's it. And you need those pieces. Whatever we are breeding, there are multiple foods for thought on this. And one of our previous podcasts, I talked with Fred Rice a lot, and I know he specifically is a big advocate for breeding same type together. You take two dogs that are the same and you breed them together, and you will get more dogs that are the same. And I always see they trend a direction. There is no such thing as the same. And I have some friends that say in business, there's no staying, you're either going up or you're going down. And so I feel like it's the same category. There is no zero line.
Right.
Fred's fantastic, but this is something that I disagree with him on. And we talked about it in that, but I feel that things trend. So you take that same type, which let's say that same is on the higher end of drive and desire, because I like that. We want dogs that want to work and have drive and desire, but they also point and back, and whatever that is, there's no such thing as perfect. So you have some hiccups in there, but if we're in that higher tier and we breed two dogs that are exactly the same, the next thing you know, we do have these dogs that are like, whoa, how do we hold on to this? Because we've trended up. Now, there will be some like Mom and some like Dad, but they're going to be also the others that trend up. And the same thing on the opposite end of the spectrum. We need dogs that are easier to handle and easier to live with. And that's a part of the development process, because our dogs are family companions first. If we take Quest, for example, who is a fantastic hunting dog, but she's as close to a cat as you can get out of a bird dog.
Yeah.
And she just disappear on the couch, and you forget that she's there. And that's what she's hoping for, is that she can just exist in her own space. And then if then she'll come and tell you it's time to pet her and things of those nature. So, but if you take that level of ease and then breed it to the same, they're going to trend down to the point where you almost end up with, you may lose some of that ability to have drive and desire. I mean, it is possible. They trend in direction. So we try and balance, and you get some like Mom and some like Dad, and then some that blend it. So,
and Doc's a prime example of Thunder, bred to Quest, is a really good blend of both of them.
He's got the style and desire to work in class, and at the same time is incredibly easy to be around and sweet. Like he's one of the go-to show dogs at this point. And I say show dogs meaning go-to events or shows like Pheasant Fest, because he will hang out on his dog bed all day long. And everybody that comes up to them, whether they are 2 years old or 102 years old, he treats them all with the utmost respect. And he wants to shake everybody's hand, and he gently puts his paw up there to be shake. And he will just, a little girl that came up, he's just like noses into and just cuddles on, like, so it's just that perfect. But then you take him out and he tears up a marsh and gets, finds all the ducks, and he's surprisingly big running for as low key as he is.
Yeah.
Like he covers a lot of ground. So you've got you've got an incredible balance of a dog, and that's the goal. That's why we repeated it. That's why the Thunder Quest puppies will be born in approximately a month. I just did the ultrasound. So
sometime in June.
Prego. Ta-da!
So Splash. Splash is gonna work on handling, specifically. I'll continue to work with her on honoring, backing, and they'll all get bird shot for them and push them over their head and make them run around in front of them. And we won't be done with birds running around getting handled into. Just one time is not going to be enough, especially because Shock and Splash both didn't perform as I would have expected. The other dogs did fine. Hazel and East and Doc all just said, "Oh, we don't do that." So, but they'll get another chance, another day. And I will continue to find places to haul them and train them. So,
absolutely. As far as utility stuff goes, I mean, Hazel has the ability to do it. She will get to run again whenever that is, pending heat cycles and available tests.
Puppies, because she's being bred this heat cycle. So
yes, we're going to do the breeding to Benny, which I think you can see.
Talk about, because that is basically Thunder, but we're going to try to get a little different version.
I want one. So upcoming litters, could not find this page. Well, that's not optimal.
So Thunder is Muddy, bred to Benny, and Muddy is an older sister of Hazel's. So, but Muddy and Hazel are different dogs, and the same, all at the same time.
So there's a dead link. I got to remind myself of that. So if you come back in here to Hazel Benny right here. So it is the exact, like Charles is saying, it is the exact same breeding as, in a sense of Hazel being Muddy's sister on paper, minus the zone of dam there. It looks exactly the same, but Muddy and Hazel are very different dogs. So I would expect to see similar, but maybe a little more poise than what Thunder can have at times. But multiple of the dogs from that breeding were good. And I'm excited. I want one. The only problem is going to be timing wise, because we are getting this breeding is happening. Maybe she didn't even put it on here. Yeah, she did. Right. Meow.
Trix Nix, I'm guessing.
Trix is bred to Nix, and we're getting one of those. So maybe it's a frozen breeding. His semen from those collections wasn't optimal, and I don't know exactly what happened, but it just wasn't. So we used a bunch of it. Dr. Patterson there in Abilene helped. She's for sure pregnant. Just part of that process that she didn't end up. She's not full. I can tell that much. We're going to do an x-ray and find out from there, but excited about that. And also excited about, I'm excited about all of the breedings, which makes it hard, but there are pieces there. So the next with that, Hazel will run again when we can get her in. She has all of the things. It's there. And East will obviously run again, hopefully sooner rather than later, depending on how things, and these next couple weekends work out right for him. He's got a dang good shot at being a master and then moving in and finishing sometime maybe in June, depending on exactly where we can get into a utility test where he doesn't act like a dink. For
the worst case for us is they kind of start picking back up around us in August. So
yeah, and we'll have to see. Like our duck search water can kind of dry up in the summer a little bit. It's spring fed, and the springs kind of just close up in the summer. And if we don't get enough rain, which it's Kansas, so it happens, it makes it hard for us to run a fall test here.
yeah, I'd have to find someone somewhere for him to go. But
on the flip side of that, Turbo, Jess, you have upcoming. When do you run him next?
The 17th, the weekend of the 17th of May.
in Colorado.
In
Colorado. You run out there.
Which is also double.
Yep.
Is it a double? So, and you're off that weekend.
I'm judging in New York, I believe.
Okay. And I looked at potentially helping to try and handle or run dogs. The only issue with that is I got to miss my kid's birthday in order to do that. So,
yeah.
And we'll see.
And the weekend Charles is running, I have a graduation to go to for my daughter. So we both have kid things.
It's tough. It's life. So we sacrifice all for the sake of the bird dog. Maybe Cade gets to go on an adventure with dad. That'd be real fun. Sit in the truck while I run dogs all day long. All of that being said, you also have Thunder. You finished him as utility prize one dog.
Guess what that means?
Jessica will be in New Mexico next year running him at the Invitational. You got this.
I was like, those aren't the rules that I have to, but
if you read, let me show you here.
Is it
Article
the rules?
3, Section 27.
It's not the rules. But I can.
It's good a chance as any. You have enough handle and rapport that it's a great opportunity for you to go and run. So
that's right.
And he's an absolute blast.
No, he really is.
He's fun. And it's so much fun to work with a dog that loves to work. So teaching, he doesn't even, he knows he has a very good memory. He's an incredibly good marking dog.
And he wants to do it.
When
you show him that on the other side of that pond is a duck, go pick it up. He's going to done.
Well, and because I'm a little sentimental, he's also my dog's daddy. So being able to run Thunder, which is Suvie's dad, is also kind of an accolade of itself.
You realistically have a chance of finishing Sue this year as well. I mean, she's very close to being able to do the things, and you may get to take them both. Doc will be there. I know.
Nope, he'll be in Iowa this year. Hopefully East is in New Mexico. East.
That would be fun.
Yeah, right. East. Yeah. Doc's already there.
Hopefully Hazel will be there. And hopefully, who else?
So the potential to run utility this year, it all comes down to them. It would be Hex, Cass, Legacy.
Cass got a shot. Legs.
And then maybe I need to see
Give
more.
a dog a 3-syllable name. I will shorten it. Outside of that, I usually call them by their name.
So Cassie is potentially in that. Yahtzee is potentially in that. So it's kind of come down to them to see who we get one.
Where's Dusky at for testing? Are you?
Dusky is just Dusky.
Getting started.
Being a Dusky dog.
Just getting started.
Her and her sister Pocket are done on the table. They'll be. This will be their second hunting season.
So I didn't know if you're studying her this year.
Your Dusky. We actually have
Dusk.
Were you asking about Dusk or Dusky?
Dusky.
Okay. I got confused for a second because we were talking about Dusk. We have several dogs that are named the same thing.
Cassie.
Kind of.
Dusky.
Yeah. So
true.
we
That's
do,
funny.
which Cassie and Cass are a little easier than Dusk and Dusky, but
Dusk is in that same realm, depending on how the summer goes.
We just happened that Charles and Annie had a dog that was Dusky, and they named it Dusky. And
her
Mike,
litter name was Dusky.
Mm-hmm.
Was it? So kept it.
Yep.
And then Mike, a good buddy of mine, it's another dog that will have the opportunity to train test title. And if it makes the cut, potentially it'd be part of the breeding program too. But he named her Dusk. So,
but no hard and fast rule testing dates are
no, they're all going through steadiness. They're getting ready to move into the field on homers. So their yard work is come along. Yep. As steady dogs.
Biggest goal right now is El Tesoro ready for a good portion.
Right. That's the main focus. So it'll just depend on them, how natural they are. And also we have to look at, if they all of a sudden are all doing really, really well, what happens if 5 of them or 6 of them do really well all of a sudden? And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm running 3 dogs at the Invitational this year. I don't know that I could handle 6. I don't know what I could handle, but 3 is a lot. So,
well, I may have to hire another dog trainer. I'm just joking.
Well, Jess is already going to be there. She can run.
Yeah, you can run 2 of them.
All right.
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
All of those things considered, I think we've got a good plan moving forward. I hope that you guys enjoy these conversations. It's good to go over what happened and how we move forward. If you are not actively thinking about that without dwelling is not the answer. It's how do we be honest about what happened and what the weaknesses are, and not ignore what they did well, because it still needs work, but what needs more work is what they made mistakes on. And applying that to the training regime all the way around helps all of the dogs to hopefully prevent making those issues in the future. If you guys enjoy this, please leave some comments, either YouTube or wherever you can do it. I don't think you can leave comments on Apple Podcasts, but you can leave reviews. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
All of that being said, though, a good portion of folks will watch/listen to this on YouTube. Leave comments if you've got questions. If you enjoy these, we will try to continue doing them through the season. The Standing Stone podcast has the opportunity to kind of morph through what we do throughout the year. So this is testing, titling season. Then we will be moving into how are we prepping dogs later in the season for hunting season. We'll have young dogs. We have seasoned dogs that are going to El Tesoro Ranch. And then we have, we have hunting stories and how the actual hunting season is going. And then coming out of that, where the dogs need to be to move back into testing. Not to mention including the development of young puppies and all of those pieces. So this podcast is about bird dogs and what we do here at the kennel. I hope you've enjoyed some of the other episodes. We even tried to throw in, Charles did the history of some of the German Shorthair breed and a lot of what is behind what we have in our pedigrees. There are 4 parts to that. If you have not found them, they're available everywhere you listen to your podcast. I believe, including the video versions, should all be, I think the last one was just posted, or it will be this week, very soon. All 4 parts will be on YouTube as well, so you can kind of see the faces behind the voices, if you will.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to talk about short hairs from the late 50s, 60s, and 70s, kind of what developed a lot of the dogs that we have now.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys' time. Thanks for being with me today. And I'm the guy with the pink gun. We'll catch you in the next one.